Do you know the feeling of believing that you're in the right and you're living the right way, but then at some point you look at your life and you're not happy with where you are. You're not the kind of person that you wanted to be, especially the person that you believe that Jesus wanted you to be. How do we resolve that? Well, I'm going to discuss that, the key element to that in this video. Now, this video is a part of a larger series called The Disciple. If you go to our channel, Bethel Pittsburgh, and go under playlist, you'll find a playlist titled The Disciple. In there, and it's in category order, not in alphabetical order, in there are a number of videos to help you grow in your faith, and we're trying to do it very thoroughly and exhaustively, and they're separated in specific categories, and this is under the category of character. What kind of character does the Lord want me to have? Now, you've probably had that experience where, like I said, I wasn't aware of it, thought I was at the time in the right. I didn't land in a spot that I was happy with. I'm not the kind of person that I want to be, or that I believe that the Lord wants me to be. How did I land there? And the solution is awareness. And Paul, remember for the character study, we have 3 passages that we're primarily looking at because they give a concise listing of the characteristics and qualities the Lord wants us to have. And it's Romans 13, 1 Corinthians 13, and Galatians 5. And in Romans 13, verses 11 to 13, Paul says this: "The hour has come for you to wake from your sleep." Now, what sleep is he talking about? Is he telling me it's time to stop sleeping, like physical sleep? And he says, "So then, let us cast off the works of darkness and put on the armor of light." So let us not be in darkness, but let us be in the light. And then he says, "Let us walk properly as in the daytime." So this has to do with our behavior. Let us see so that we will behave correctly. Let us have things be visible so that we can behave correctly. And he's speaking now to the idea that I can be ignorant to things that are happening inside of me, outside of me, that are causing sinful behaviors, and I'm not even aware of it. And the solution is to not be asleep to that, but to be awake to that. And the reason is because 2 Peter elaborates on this a little further. In 2 Peter 2:12, it says, "But these, like irrational animals," some translations say unreasonable animals. This translation, the English Standard Version, says irrational animals, creatures of instinct, born to be caught and destroyed, blaspheming matters of which they are ignorant, will also be destroyed in their destruction. So there's ignorance that is resulting in destruction for me. I think that can happen in an earthly sense, and it can also happen in an eternal sense, where I'm ignorant to the fact that I'm not in the right place, that I'm not behaving the right way. I don't realize that I'm on the path towards destruction. I'm ignorant to it. And part of the reason I'm ignorant is because I'm irrational and instinctive. Like animals, I'm just going on instinct. And if we pay attention to our lives, there's a lot of times that we behave on instinct. We're just instinctive in what we're doing. We're reacting to emotions, we're reacting to opinions, we're reacting to circumstances, and we're not actually thinking through what is the right thing to do, what is the right way to see this, how am I supposed to operate, what am I supposed to say, not say. We don't typically think through our actions that way, and the solution to us behaving in the spirit versus behaving in the flesh is to actually be awake to what is happening. Why am I doing this? Why am I feeling this way? Why are they that way? And what needs to take place? What does God want to happen here? And it's moving above that instinctive behavior to a more thoughtful, alert, aware posture that will result in behaving in the spirit versus behaving in the flesh. The what results is, what we can see is there is this pull towards sin. We see in Galatians 6:1, keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted. That there is this internal pull inside of me to drift towards destructive behaviors, towards sinful behaviors. And so I have to be alert to that not all my desires and emotions are good and Christ-centered. 1 Peter 5:8 warns, be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. So the enemy is around me, trying to cause circumstances that will result in me behaving in the flesh, behaving sinful ways. And I need to be aware of that. So I encounter something, I'm in the midst of certain circumstances, it is very likely that the enemy, that demonic activity, is involved, trying to use, if not causing, but at least using what's taking place to instigate sinful behaviors on my part. And inside of me, there's a drive, there's an instinctive reaction to move into sinful behaviors. And so I have to be aware of that. Now, what is the solution to that? There's multiple pieces that need to be a part of my life that's going to move towards resolving that, or move towards it. Not resolve all issues, but it's going to move me towards not being so instinctive and behaving in spirit-led things versus flesh-led things. So part of the solution is Colossians 4:2. Continue steadfastly in prayer, being watchful in it with thanksgiving. So part of the way I'm going to be watchful and alert is by praying. Lord, show me, guide me, help me to be alert, especially in the moment that instincts are being instigated to say, all right, Lord, help me to know what's going on here. And so praying, not only I don't know if I should say especially in the moment. There should be preparatory prayer that I'm praying, Lord, help me to be ready. And there should be in the moment prayer. Both of those things should be taking place. And that's going to be able to open me up to be aware of good decision making in those moments. A second part of the solution is having a biblical mindset or right theology that counters the bad theology. So Matthew 16:6 said, watch and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. So Jesus is warning, watch out for, and it was teaching he was talking about, watch out for what they are teaching, for the ideas that are being presented. Pay attention. 1 Timothy 4:16 says, keep a close watch on yourself and on the teaching. Persist in this, for by so doing you will save both yourself and your hearers. So it's this awareness of these ideas and what do these ideas mean and how do they correspond to the faith, how do they correspond to what the Bible teaches, is going to be what enables me to walk in the Spirit rather than in the flesh. 1 Timothy 6:20 says, O Timothy, guard the deposit entrusted to you, avoid irrelevant babble and contradictions. So don't get caught up into conspiracy theory type things, but pay attention to what does the Bible say about this. I'm going to lean on that. And the more biblically minded we are and committed to being faithful to the teachings of the Word of God, the more we're going to be capable of being aware of what's happening and being aware enough to make spirit-led decisions rather than fleshly-led decisions. And people misunderstand this, because spirit-led does not mean just praying and sensing what God's telling me exclusively. It actually more means knowing what the Scripture teaches and doing that is a large part what spirit-led is. Because we can miss it. What we think the Spirit is saying is subjective a lot of times, so we can miss what God's actually saying, where the Bible gives us a clear expression of what's supposed to happen. Another part of being alert is understanding what salvation is, like what is it I'm called to walk in, and putting myself in a position of experiencing Christian fellowship and accountability. 2 John 8 says, watch yourselves, so that you may not lose what we have worked for, but may win a full reward. So watch yourself so that you're saved. So pay attention. What is saved? What does it mean to be in a saved posture? Am I in that posture? Does what I'm doing right now demonstrate that I'm in a saved posture? And paying attention to what salvation looks like and what do I look like is a part of this awareness that will be generated when we're alert. 1 Thessalonians 5, a quote from 6, and then a quote from 9, and a quote from 11. Says, "So then, let us not sleep as others do, but let us keep awake and be sober." That's in verse 6. Then in verse 9 says, "For God has not destined us for wrath, but to obtain salvation." Okay, so let us be aware by knowing what salvation is. And then verse 11, "Therefore encourage one another and build one another up." So I need to be aware of what salvation is by being in Christian fellowship where people are encouraging me towards the right definition of things and the right perspective and the right approach. And by doing this, I'm going to become aware. Now, there are a lot of other scriptures, particularly in the New Testament, that refer to the ideas, if you would to search a concordance for the words alert, watch, guard, you will, not all the words are referring to this idea, but you'll find a number of other verses that are talking about being encouraged to be watchful, to pay attention to what's happening. And this builds upon, so I think we're close to getting into some specific behaviors, but what we've seen so far in walking through Romans 13 is the way I'm going to have Christ-like character is to start out first by understanding authority and submission. I belong to the Lord, and I need to surrender to him. That if I get in that posture, I'm going to do the right things. If my heart and attitude is, what does God expect of me? Let me live that out. The second quality we saw was love. If my heart is, I'm going to do everything out of my love for God and love for people. I'm only going to behave in ways that demonstrate love for the Lord and love for people. I'm going to do the right things. These are the things that govern all the specifics and result in me doing the right things. The same is true for this third piece, is awareness. If I'm paying attention to, because sometimes I think something's loving, sometimes I think something is submissive when it's not. If I'm aware of what is happening from moment to moment and asking the question, is this an instinctive response? Is this a sinful response? Or what is this what God expects me to do? Is this what I should do? Is this the right thing to do? What does the Bible say about this? What do my Christian friends, how do they interpret this? Have I prayed and sought the Lord's direction for this? All of those pieces of becoming aware is going, if I'm posturing this way, I'm more likely to do the right things than the wrong things. And we're going to get into more specifics down the road, but these are postures we need to be in. If I'm struggling with sin, these three items are the first things I need to look at. Am I willing to submit to God? Do I love? And am I aware? Am I paying attention to what's happening? If you have any questions on that, leave it in the comments below. I'd be glad to answer your questions. Or if you would like to grow in your faith in person and you live in the Pittsburgh area, we'd love for you to join us. We are Bethel Assembly of God at 2501 Staten Street, Wednesdays at 6:30 and Sundays at 10 a.m. God bless.